Welcome to Connection Training, the online resource for positively training your horse. I'm Maria-Lucy Neason and I'm going to guide you through what exactly connection training is and how it works. So, who am I? Here is me pictured with Pasha, a mini I had for a couple of years. I've been involved with horses since the age of 3 when I first sat on my aunt's hunter, and I have never looked back. I trained initially as a riding coach before becoming a lecturer and then took a break professionally to focus on horses as a hobby. Icarus was the horse that led me to connection training, and I was absolutely amazed at what I could achieve using this training method. I've acquired many qualifications over the years and feel that being a connection training coach has brought me full circle to where I started my professional life about 40 years ago. That's a little bit scary having worked that one out. So these are some of the qualifications I have. I'm currently a BHS Level 4 accredited performance coach. I have a Master's in Equine Studies, and I also have an Advanced National Certificate in Equine Business Management, a Certificate in Performance Horse Development, which is an area I'm really interested in, and a Certificate in Education, which I used for lecturing. And I've spent a lot of time working in the industry. So now a little bit about Rachel and Hannah. They're a mother and daughter team who initially founded Hannah Dawson Equine, which was rebranded as Connection Training in 2013. They have both been involved in the horse world, with Rachel working as an equine nutritionist before setting up her own business and taking a particular interest in horse behaviour. Hannah rode from the age of 3 and after exploring other methods of training discovered positive reinforcement in 2004, and the rest is history. Hannah is also a qualified equine body worker and has studied rider posture and classical dressage. Both Hannah and Rachel have had the opportunity to work with some incredible ethologists, horse trainers, behaviourists, saddle fitters to name but a few, and are both exceptionally knowledgeable and approachable. So welcome to Connection Training, and in this presentation you will discover what it is, as well as the 4 elements of connection training and how you can get started today. So let's have a look at what connection training is. So it's positive horse training using positive reinforcement, which is grounded in scientific research. There is a large body of work to support the effectiveness of positive reinforcement in training horses, and in fact is the most effective way to train horses. So there's a lot of scientific evidence behind this. It's also very practical, so that anyone can do this. There are no strange gimmicks or anything. It's very easy to follow, and there is absolute clarity in what you do, and the horse will thank you for it. It's also highly effective. It really works, and in lots of areas. So from daily handling to veterinary procedures, farrier work, loading work, and then on to ground work, ridden work, in fact absolutely everything. And it also builds a lovely relationship with your horse, which is rewarding for both you and your horse. And so these are some little words that encompass what connection training is. So it's horse friendly, it's practical, it's positive, it's very supportive, it's gentle, it's effective, soft, fun, upbeat, joyful, inclusive, and scientifically proven. And I wished I'd known about it 30 years ago. So connection training is for you if you want to solve a behavioural problem. This could be anything to do with working on the yard, so loading, catching, picking up feet, could be grooming issues, maybe fly spray, anything surrounding that, and also ridden issues, so maybe problems at the mounting block, horse not wanting to be ridden, all sorts of things. So it really does cover anything behavioural to do with your horse. It will help you form a true partnership and also a deeper relationship with your horse, like one you've never had before. And it will also help you understand horse behaviour, which is sadly lacking in a lot of traditional training. And it will help you foster a calmer and more willing partner. It will also help you to understand how to use reward-based training and bust myths surrounding using food for training and help you to build relaxation and motivation. When I first came to positive reinforcement training, I had always made sure that I didn't use any treats at all for anything and no food other than hay nets. And I have now learned that actually it's not what you're feeding, it's how you're doing it and how you do that within the training that's the most important thing. And then learn how to train and develop your horse. So this could be for any activity that you would like to do with your horse. So it could be for ridden work. You could be learning to produce a young horse, or also how to retrain and encourage healthy movement using gymnastic groundwork. It will also help you have a safer horse to handle, and that's really important because horses are dangerous animals, and actually this will enable you to have a much safer horse, and it also fosters inquisitive horses rather than scared ones. Sounds good so far? Well, let's go a little bit deeper. We're now going to look at the 4 elements of connection training. So first of all, we're going to look at making it rewarding and focusing on the good. So let's look at rewards. What is a reward? Well, a reward is something, anything in fact, that a horse enjoys. So we have a picture of a horse being fed here. Food is a big reinforcer. Scratches are also a reinforcer for some horses, but not all, and maybe at certain times of the year horses appreciate being scratched more than at other times. And then for some horses, play is really important and can be used in training. And then movement can be used, so horses like to move. Some horses like to stand still, so again you have to pick the right reward for the situation and the horse. So rewarding horses in training is not something that historically the horse world has used to its full potential, whilst other enterprises such as marine mammal trainers, zookeepers or dog trainers have been using it for years. So it's just not something that we as horse people have done to any great extent. And so primary reinforcers such as food have an innate biological value and reinforcing quality. They're not learned, but tied up in survival. So for horses, food is a big one. And as I said before, for some other things are as important, such as being scratched. So when we're training, we try to use a variety, and the wider the variety, the better. So it doesn't just become all about training with food. It means using other things as well, which really help. And if it's all done correctly, and your horse will end up being a calm, relaxed and polite horse. So we don't want any mugging or unwanted behaviours, but the training shows you how to work with that. So how does your horse feel? Ideally, we want the horse to be in the comfort zone for training, so calm and relaxed and motivated. So relaxation is important for emotional and mental well-being, and important for effective training, whether it's on the ground or ridden. Horses are capable of feeling emotions. As horse owners and handlers, we know that only too well. And emotions drive behaviour, and that is something that historically the horse world hasn't really explored. So the tendency is to attempt to deal with the horse in the moment without actually looking at the underlying issues. So for instance, if we looked at loading, you might have a horse that decides he doesn't want to go in the lorry, and this could be for a number of reasons, and most people wouldn't necessarily work out why the horse doesn't want to go in the lorry. They would just get the horse in the lorry however they could, because they're off to a show or whatever they're doing. So that's why historically we haven't really tried to address the actual reasons for the behaviour. So Jaak Panksepp was a pioneer of effective neuroscience. He's sadly no longer with us, and he looked at all sorts of things related to emotions and behaviour, and he actually recorded a rat giggling whilst being tickled. So although this is a still shot, you can actually see the video on YouTube if you want to look at that. It's quite interesting. And Panksepp mapped 7 primary emotional systems. And the ones in green, the appetitive, are the ones that with seeking, care, play and lust, they make you feel good. The aversive ones that don't make you feel good are the panic, rage and grief and fear. So these are the ones we try to, and the horse would try to avoid. And so we're going to look at those, how they work in the training. So first of all, we're going to look at the seeking system. And the seeking system is a great one for horses because they would naturally spend a lot of time in their environment doing this. And it's associated with sniffing and moving forwards. It's a rewarding behaviour for the horse with a dopamine release. And the search for something usually to eat is as rewarding as the actual food. It feels good and the horse enjoys this. And this is just a little clip of Charlie, who was retired from his work in riding for the disabled centre, and he was just having a little bit of fun doing some enrichment activities. So he knows this exercise now, so he's done it a few times, and he's looking for treats under the comb. But it really helps to engage the horse, and they really enjoy these sort of exercises. As you can see, he knows what he's doing. So the next system we're going to have a look at is the care system. And this is initially activated by dams caring for their young, and then bonding behaviours in adult groups. So licking, mutual grooming, touching, closeness, sharing food, and eating together are all rewarding. The hormone oxytocin is released during these processes, which is another feel-good bonding emotion. And an increase in oxytocin is also correlated to trainability. So there's some quite interesting work out there. So I also have a little video of me just scratching Charlie again, as he enjoyed that as a reward for whatever he was doing. So again, that can be employed, and as I said before, not all horses like that, but for some it's really enjoyable. And then we move on to play. So the play system is seen more in youngsters and is important for their muscular skeletal development and proprioception, preparing them to move with the herd and over a variety of terrains. Play also helps foster friendships within the herd. Object play can be utilised in training if the horse finds it rewarding. Horses are inquisitive and like to explore things. So I've just got a short clip of George again. He has a very high play drive, and we do utilise that quite a lot in his training. And he's playing with a dog rope toy actually. And yeah, he would play with that for quite a long time. So he finds that very rewarding. So now we're going to look at some of the things we don't really want in, well, we definitely don't want in training, but there are things that come up quite often, and we have to learn how to deal with them and how to prepare the horse. So the fear system is an important one. It's designed to keep the horse alive, and freeze and flight are common fear responses. And we work to minimise the horse's response to fear and give them tools to deal with it. So gradually they feel happier about dealing with things that they're frightened of. So I have a little clip here of Flo. She's a very nervous little horse with separation anxiety issues as well. We put something on the mat which was quite scary, and there you can see she's gone sort of halfway to it, and she's deciding quite clearly that she's not going to go any further. This isn't a massive fear response, but it's just showing that's a very subtle sign that your horse is not happy with something. And then we go on to the panic and grief system, which is to do with social loss and separation anxiety, normally triggered by abrupt weaning. Associated behaviours with this are distress vocalisations, walking up and down a fence line, searching for the companion where they last saw them, box walking. There's quite a few things that horses will do when they're stressed. Horses are designed to be in a herd and not kept alone. It's a bad feeling, and once experienced, it can resurface at other times in the horse's life. For instance, when they move home. And this isn't, again, a particularly good video, but it just shows George, who has a little bit of, so he's just given a neigh. I wanted you to hear that. So that was him, that's a classic one, horse standing at the gate, neighing and wanting to be with their companions. And so the rage system, and this is one we really don't want to encounter. It's very much a fight. It's defensive, and it's a protection of the animal. He's protecting himself. And this again is just a small indication. So again, we can see this in training, and then we can deal with it. So I hadn't worked with Mountain Man for very long, but I noticed that he suffers a little bit with some rage symptoms when he's being led. and it's manifested with ears flat back and also slight snaking of the head and neck. I know it's not really extreme, but it's an indication that he had some issues going on, so we just adjusted the training to help him with that. Horses make emotional associations all the time. Feeding time with buckets and tack on, or the vet turning up, that can be an unpleasant one. And so what happens when you actually train your horse using connection training? Well, the horse starts to see you and feels good, positive emotional responses. And this creates a really strong bond. So the next area we're going to look at is freedom of choice and why this is important in training. So why is choice important? Well, traditionally we don't use choice in training. We turn up and the horse has to do what we want, be it going for a hack or training for sport. There is no choice. However, giving your horse choice is very empowering for the horse. They can choose to participate or not, but if they say no, you should listen to them. And this is very difficult for traditional training views, because historically we wouldn't have done that. Communication, really important, so that it becomes a two-way thing, and it improves learning. So a calm, relaxed, happy horse is a very easy one to train. And we want to work with horses who want to work with us. So then the last area we're going to look at is clarity and communication. And we're going to look at markers, cues, and targets and how they work. So first of all, a marker. So a marker or bridging signal is given as soon as the horse has given the correct response, and then it's followed by the reward. It provides absolute clarity to the horse that he's given the correct response to what you have asked. And types of marker. So we've got a handheld clicker. You can also use a tongue click, or you can use a word such as yes to indicate the right response. So whatever's the easiest for you. And you can use these whether you're riding or in hand. So let's have a look at cues. So what is a cue? Well, a cue can be anything that's asking the question to your horse. So it can be a hand, as I've got here. It can be your voice. It can be body positioning, and when ridden aids and weight aids. So I've got a hand and body cue here going on, asking Icarus to turn. Here it's a leg yield cue, so hands and body. And here Hannah is using weight aids to ask for shoulder in. And there'll be small other cues going on there as well. And why are cues important? They're important so that your horse actually understands what you're asking. And you can use any cues you like, it doesn't really matter, as long as you are consistent and you use the same thing and you're very clear in how you use your cues. And then lastly, we've got emotional cues, and this is where your horse starts to form an emotion, shall we say, around something. So a head collar is a good example. So you turn up in the field to catch your horse and you're waving the head collar around, and your horse might run away because he doesn't want to be caught. He might stand there and let you go up to him, a bit ambivalent about whether he's going to be caught or not. Or thirdly, he might come walking up to you or trotting up to you because he wants to be caught. So that's an emotional cue, and horses form emotional cues around lots of things. So next we're going to look at targets. And what is a target? Well, I'm just holding one in my hand here. It's a little noodle on the end of a bamboo cane, so it's a sort of made one. And targets not used traditionally in horse training, but actually I really don't know how I managed without one for as long as I did, because now I use them for everything. So really good for visual guidance. So you can ask your horse to touch something and you can use them to move your horse around. We can have stationary targets so that you can send your horse or donkey to a cone. I've got another handheld target there, and a target on the floor. So that actually was a head collar next to a little cone. And it also helps because you can work from a safe distance if you need to. So you can, by having a handheld target, you can keep the horse slightly out of your space, particularly if you're working with a horse you don't know particularly well. You can teach new behaviours, you can teach lots of behaviours with targets, and the object is to try and phase them out when you can. So we fade out the targets as soon as possible. And you can use any object and be as creative as you like. And we got a nice little picture here of India jumping towards Hannah, and Hannah's got a handheld target, which you can just about see. It's got a little orange end to it. So now we're going to just have a look at CT in practice and changing emotions. So this is one, well, changing emotions around tacking up. So in the first part of the video, you can see a horse here who was very unhappy about being tacked up, didn't want the tack anywhere near him because he'd had a bad time in the past. And then the last little bit is him standing quietly at a cone and having his saddle put on. So we've got some rage here. That's a good example of rage, a horse not wanting to be anywhere near. And here we go, a few months down the line, very happy little horse, quite content to have the saddle put on. So that's where connection training has really made a difference to this horse. So we've now got, just me using an example for training leg yield. So body positioning and hand positioning and asking the horse to step away. So that's been built up to. So we would have started with quarters over, shoulders away, and we would finally have built up to that. And I've just got the rest of the video him coming back the other way. Angles a little bit off, but this were early days for this horse, so we're just rewarding for all his attempts at what we were asking. And this is an example of quarters over. So this little horse had never done a ridden quarters over, and so I was preparing him. He did a lot in hand, so he understood what to do in hand, so I was just priming him now. So we're standing next to a marker and he's moving his quarters over, and I did that maybe 3 or 4 times in hand before we then repeated it with me mounted. So I've just hopped on now, I've gone round exactly the same way, I've brought him round to exactly the same spot where we halt. It wasn't a great halt, but he was still very green. And I just asked him for the quarters over, and look at that, he went really nicely, so I was really pleased with that. No stress, a horse knows exactly what's being asked of him. So this little video is of a horse doing some round pen lunging. So I really like this. The poles are on the ground now. Earlier on they would have been higher up to keep him out, but now he's working round just poles on the floor, and actually this is quite early on in his training, so by the end I could just have a few cones put out and he would happily go around them. And so that's a good example of connection training in action. And then I've got another one here of a little pasha coming through a gate, so he's at liberty again, and I use my hand to, there we go, hand up and down, which is a signal to move forward, and pasha moves through the gate, and then he waits for me to carry on with the next activity. So, are you ready to discover exactly how to positively train your horse using our step-by-step science and evidence-based techniques that easily build your knowledge, skills and confidence while keeping your horse calm, relaxed and connected? So if so, then please join us. So the CT is an online membership site giving you access to world-class coaches, including me. You can join from anywhere in the world and access hundreds of rewards-based step-by-step horse training videos in our home study courses. These are organised into programmes to get you started, solve handling problems like leading or feet issues, right up to training free jumping and riding. We also provide regular extra content to our members on training techniques and practical sessions. The CT Club is also a wonderful community. It's diverse, friendly and supportive place to learn, where you can meet other members, enter our monthly training challenges, join in our live Q&As and access the forum. And one-to-one online coaching is also available to members. So here we are. This is just putting what I've just said into words. So we've got home study courses here, which you can see there are quite a number of them. And these are all the things that happen within the online forum. And then there's also a book. So if you don't fancy joining the online system, you can buy the book, which is absolutely fantastic. It's an Amazon bestseller and it is incredibly well written and detailed. So I would definitely recommend that. So that's it for the presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something, and I hope you're inquisitive enough to want to find out more. And hopefully, I might see you in there.